Hello.
We
are
Twinprov.
Hi everyone, we're Twinprov, and of course normally we perform on stage in our matching stage clothes. I miss you, Sarah.
I miss you too. But here we are in the virtual world to explore some virtual Twinprov, and it will be as seamless as our introduction was.
Without doubt, without doubt. Shall we just introduce ourselves before we get going?
That. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm Julie Flower, and I'm the smaller half of Twinprov. Although, look, in the online space, we look like we're the same height.
Yeah, see, this is frying my brain because our only USP really is our foot in height difference, and now that's gone, which is actually quite liberating in some ways. And I'm Sarah. Hello.
Oh, lovely. And today we are going to explore the idea of the creative possibilities of this space, because none of us have chosen to be working like this, but actually we've really enjoyed discovering the possibilities of the online space, and we'd like to think of it as the hero rather than something that constricts us. So as a duo, as a Twinprov, we've been doing quite a lot of work around playfulness, creativity, and also keeping and establishing a connection, which is sometimes a bit harder in this environment. So that's what we'd like to share with you today.
Yeah, so we're going to talk you through, in the time we have, a basic structure for how we might approach some things. So we'll give you some ideas for warm-ups that we think or we found have worked really well in the virtual space, a couple of exercises that we've adapted that you might like to try yourselves, and then we're going to talk a bit about scene work and how we've adapted our specific scene work to this online world.
Awesome. Let's get going.
Okay. So yeah, the first thing we're going to do is to talk about warm-up. So there's a classic warm-up that we pretty much always do actually before a show because we just really enjoy it. So a lot of our stuff is focused, as Julie said, on connection and playfulness. This is a game called I'm Thinking of a Word, and it's a game where you have to think of a word. Whoa. I'm just going to demo it. I think is probably the easiest thing.
Yeah, let's
do some stretches and just a bit of loosening up whilst we're doing it. Okay.
We've done this in the street before, haven't we?
Yeah, we have, because we are cool.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking of a word that rhymes with floor.
Floor. Is it something that you use to cut wood in half?
No, it's not a saw.
Is it something, if all of your entrails were coming out and it was really
no, it's not gore.
Is it something that you break if you commit a crime?
Oh no, it's not the law.
Oh, is it a really loud noise that somebody makes when they're sleeping?
Oh no, it's not a snore.
Is it something that you walk through in a house?
Oh no, it's not a door.
I might need a clue, Sarah.
Okay. Can you think of the film Oliver?
Is it what you want if you don't feel you've got enough?
Yes, it's more.
Yay!
High 10. We normally high 10 each other. That's very important.
Yeah.
So I think
can we do it here?
Oh, I can do it.
Yay!
So yeah, I think you get the idea. It's basically a very silly rhyming game. Like with all the improv that we're doing, it's that thing of turning that notch up on your chest and going more than is comfortable, getting yourself into trouble and just having a bit of fun with it.
Yeah, and I feel it sometimes has a bit of a mind meld quality.
Yeah.
Sometimes you suddenly like, oh my goodness, we were both thinking on that wavelength.
Yeah.
Oh, super. One of the things we've really enjoyed doing is trying to explore the world beyond this rectangular box. So we wanted to share a warm-up that we've been doing, which is essentially a kind of physical morphing exercise, but trying to get out of this space a little bit. So we're going to have a go at that now. There are different variations to it, but when it's just the two of us, essentially we're going to exit space, come back in, and we're going to essentially be mirroring and morphing with each other and just exploring the possibilities.
And my caveat here is I've got a bit of a back injury at the moment, so feel free to morph like someone who hasn't got a back injury. Mine might be a bit limited.
We'll try not to hurt you, Sarah.
Okay, thank you. Don't break me.
Cool. Don't break you. No.
Okay.
Right. And of course you can put sounds on.
Oh, my head appeared.
I'm seen.
Oh, I felt the emotion there. Don't mind telling you.
My goodness me. Oh, absolutely. And obviously it's fair to say when there's sometimes a bit of a delay on Zoom, so it's also just adapting to that and acknowledging that sometimes it moves or staggers, but it's just part of the joys of the online environment.
When you were going forward and I was going backwards, it was slightly like...
Yeah, I think it's clearly designed for sort of business people sitting like this for 3 hours on end.
Yeah. So on that note, we're going to play a game that I've been teaching quite a lot that I invented called Luddite Time. You can see how proud I am of this. I normally play it with many more people, but I've been trying to adapt it to see if we can play it with Twinprov. And it's basically based on the worst Zoom calls and worst Zoom meetings you could ever have. And it's normally an energy passing game as a warm up for a bigger troupe. So Julie, I shall teach it to you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, so normally what I'd ask people to do would be to choose a character of somebody who's in a Zoom meeting but is either really unfamiliar with Zoom or doesn't want to be there or doesn't understand it, but don't choose a character that's too low energy because it's all about energy passing. For this one, Julie, we'll probably want to choose multiple characters. So there's different rules to it. So the first one would just be saying your own name as a person and then saying somebody else's name in your character name, and then, sorry, in your character's voice, and then they would pass it through the group. Because there's only 2 of us, I think we do it, but we choose a different kind of emotion or a different type of character every single time. So I guess it would go a bit like this. Sarah. Julie?
Julie? Sarah?
Sarah? Julie?
Julie? Sarah?
Oh, Julie.
Oh, Julie. Sarah.
Okay, I've got that. So that's the first amazing genius level of Luddite Time. Oh, the second one, this is my favourite one. Again, works quite well in the group, but I think we can do it as well. So we can keep bouncing that back and forth, but you can bring this move in as well. This is the classic "Can you hear me" move, and it will go like this. So I would just say that to you 3 times, Julie. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? And you would say back, I can hear you, I can hear you, I can hear you. Then you can choose to either do the name thing again or do the "Can you hear me" back to me. Okay, so I've just done Sarah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. Sarah.
Sarah. Julie.
Julie, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. Okay, amazing. The next one is a classic that happens a lot in a Zoom meeting. Cat invasion. So the idea here is that basically a cat is coming into your call, and for some reason it's jumping on you. So it goes like this: cat invasion. And then you would say the person's name if you're in a big group and chuck it to them. But of course, Julie is going to get the cat. Julie will then catch the cat. When you've caught the cat, you can then do any of the other moves, or indeed cat invasion. Okay, I'm going to layer one more thing on it because I think that we're ready for it. Same mechanic. It is, I forgot my trousers! And then sitting back down again. Make sure that you do have trousers on for that move. Cat invasion or I've forgotten my trousers. I think, oh no, there is one more thing. Okay, no, let's do those. Let's play with those couple of things to start with, and I'll do the final one.
Okay. How do I respond to I've forgotten my trousers?
You can either do I've forgotten my trousers, cat invasion. You can do anything back to it, basically.
Anything. Great,
yeah.
Great, cool.
Yeah. Would you like to start?
Okay, cool. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. Cat invasion.
Oh, oh, I've forgotten my trousers.
Oh, I forgot my trousers. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. Sarah!
Sarah! Julie.
Julie. I've forgotten my trousers.
I forgot my trousers. Okay, final one. This one, ironically, you slightly froze as I was about to say this on my screen, is frozen. So when you're doing this in a big group, it's a way of like zip-zap-boying, of blocking a thing and sending it back. So Julie, if you say something to me, then I would just go, frozen. But the idea is you freeze for a bit inappropriately long. Which with a lot of people is quite nice because you get all these frozen slides.
I love how that's happening as Zoom is actually freeing for inappropriately.
Yeah. It's like they're yes-anding us. Okay. Oh, you're still frozen. You're really committed. This is quite method.
Cool.
Okay.
It was quite funny then, Sarah, because it actually froze whilst you were doing that.
Yeah. Am I freezing for you because you're freezing on my one?
Yes. It's because we're twins, right?
It's because we're twins. At the same time. Shall we put it all together just briefly? Because I'm aware this is quite a lengthy game. But it's genius, right?
Great. Okay. It's great. Fantastic.
Right.
Cat invasion.
Cat invasion. I've forgotten my trousers.
Sarah.
Frozen. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Francine, beautiful.
Super.
So yeah, guys, if you try that one, let me know if it was as complicated as that.
That's fantastic. I want to try it on all my family Zooms. It would be perfect.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. My father-in-law did actually get onto a chair and drop his shorts on a Zoom the other day, but
wow,
that's for a different place. So
going in the game, I'm writing it down.
One of the things that we have loved playing with in this virtual space is objects and breaking the rules with objects, because normally, of course, all our objects are imaginary. But here we have things around in our rooms and we've been playing with them. Yeah. So you might have found different ways to play with objects yourselves, but we thought we'd just show some of the ways in which we've been doing it. And of course, sometimes you have to cheat it because of the fact you're in two separate places. And also because on Zoom, particularly if you have more than two people, you're not always in the same order. So, you know, you have to kind of explore those things. But a first one is a very simple passing of an object, like a mug. Sarah, I think you've got a mug there.
I have got a mug. I'm prepared.
Wonderful. And how are you going to pass me that mug?
Okay, I'm going to pass it to you like this.
Ooh, wonderful. Oh, thank you.
It's like magic.
It's like magic. Well, oh, Sarah, I've got something to pass to you.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Wonderful.
It's gin.
Oh, yeah, that's always 5 o'clock on a Sunday. Could you just pass me the mug again, Sarah?
Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, it's really hot. It's really hot. Oh,
oh, oh, oh, oh, oh, oh, oh my.
Wow, you're the
winner.
winner.
That's fantastic. Wow, we love a morphing object. Lovely. Oh, so shiny. Fantastic. So that's one way of doing things. The next thing we thought we could have a go with is actually, I really fancy a drink. Now you've mentioned gin. I don't suppose you've got any wine, Sarah?
You know what? I always have an open bottle of wine on my desk. Oh, what a coincidence.
Oh, wonderful.
Would you like some?
I'd love some. Thank you. Gosh, okay. That looks gorgeous.
Okay, I'm pouring it for you. Oh, I'm generous in my pouring.
You certainly are, Mike.
I passed it to you. Oh, there you go.
Oh, thank you. Let's.
Nice.
Chateau Lafite, 1996. Oh, gorgeous.
I've got it from Aldi.
Yeah. Don't give away your secrets, my love. Cool. So you can play with some of those sorts of things. And sometimes, as you can see, when you've got a virtual background in, occasionally objects disappear, but it depends on the situation. So you just got to play around a bit. So we've also been enjoying basically making a mess of Sarah.
I'm really up for this, but I don't know why. You'll see in a minute.
Yeah. So thinking about different ways in which you could interact. And of course, it's not all about object work, it's about the relationship. But we found that it's actually quite a nice way to just make it feel more natural that we are doing things in this space. Because when you're actually with someone, how often do you just sit like this and talk to them? True. You never do, right? So, you know what? I don't like to say it, Sarah, but I'm thinking that given you're on screen a lot, maybe you should look a bit more glamorous.
Oh, it's a fair point. Okay.
Yeah, so
what can we do?
I've got a really nice lipstick here from Boots.
Oh.
Yeah. It's called
Put some on me.
Yeah, sure. It's called Foxy Lady.
Wow, I think I'm going to look so foxy.
Absolutely. That's just what you were going for, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Lockdown. So you don't mind just get a bit closer, because I just want to make sure that I can really get this on you nice. Oh yeah, gorgeous. Yeah.
Julie.
Oh, sorry.
You're not overly good at
yeah.
Oh, Julie.
Yeah, you look gorgeous. Really, you do. Sorry.
Wow, I'm beautiful.
You are beautiful. You really, really are. Sorry. Gorgeous.
I like it. I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought this through, that we're now going to do the rest of the video with this.
I looked out. Yeah. You're amazing. Well, actually, Sarah, I think you know the phrase explore and heighten.
Sure, yeah.
Well, here we all know that flour has been in short supply, especially here in Kent. So but I've managed to get this on the black market, and I thought you might like some.
Oh, brilliant. I'm so
yeah, wonderful. I hear you've been wanting to make some banana bread, so
I have actually,
I just got some here for you, and I thought if I maybe just take a cup full of flour for you and just pass it over, because then you could make something really nice. So
pass it carefully though.
I'll pass it really carefully. And
oh,
are you still there? Are you still there?
Oh,
Sarah?
Julie.
Sorry, I'm so clumsy. I'm so sorry. My love. If we weren't sisters, you'd be angry with me, wouldn't you?
So yeah, guys.
Sorry about that.
I would definitely recommend trying this at home.
Yeah, that's really good. And and just to break the spell, I now have self-raising flour all over my MacBook.
Oh, I'm so sorry for you that you've got flour on your computer.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so any minute now I'm going to tell you about my next exercise in a really serious voice. Okay,
I'm just going to wipe my camera as we go.
Right, so yeah, if you've tuned in just now, I'm really sorry.
Yeah,
just imagine having
a
lockdown fueled nightmare and this isn't happening. So the next exercise is another one that I've made up that's just as good quality as Luddite time. This is called emotion negotiation. So thinking about how we can connect online and as a two-prov made me think about all the things with improv that we teach are things that you shouldn't do, the rules, and I know that rules are there to be broken. So I was thinking of scenes that we get told to avoid, like things like transactional scenes, arguments, things where people don't know each other, the how are you scene, all of those kind of things. Can we start scenes as a two-prov with all of those dreadful things, and then can we break that by adding in an emotion, adding in a connection? This is useful training for me, particularly because I love the abstract and magic realism and all of that, and it actually helps to ground things for me, particularly when we're doing our particular format. I can't take myself seriously, I should really turn off self-view. Okay, so Julie, we're going to do a scene that you're told not to do in improv. Do you have a particular preference for what you would like to do?
Ooh, so, how about a transactional scene in a shop?
Yes, let's do that. And we are going to attempt to bring in some negotiation in terms of relationship and connection. Okay. Oh, hello there. I was wondering if you've got any stamps.
Stamps. Oh, I've got second class, first class. Oh, that makes me think of the Queen's Golden Jubilee.
Oh, you were there. God, you don't look old enough.
Oh, I used an incredible face cream.
Oh my God, is that Mrs. Joy from school? Are you? That is you, isn't it?
Well, it is. I haven't been called Mrs. Joy for a while because I'm now on my third husband. But
oh, sorry.
It's all right. It's one of those things. Is that
not
Laura Butterworth?
Laura Butterworth.
Laura Butterworth.
It was a really unfortunate name to have at school, and you were my favourite teacher because you always told the bullies off.
I certainly did. That's a value that I have. I don't like those nasty bullies. Oh, Nora, it's so nice to see you.
I'm so excited to see you. I know this is weird, but do you want to go for a coffee or something and at some time?
Well, yes, that would be just a delight. And tell you what, I'll bring my stamp collection.
I'll bring mine as
well. Nora.
And scene. Beautiful connection, only heightened by.
Absolutely. I didn't think that Mrs. Joy was going to call that out. It's like, no, that's too obvious.
I don't think Mrs. Joy would. She was really kind.
She's so nice. Exactly. It's like, whatever you want to be.
Yeah,
that's fine.
It's fine. Awesome. She's good. She's down with it.
Yeah.
So obviously for the sake of time we won't do loads of those, but they're quite fun to do. Like particularly you can play around with the rules a bit. So maybe you 10 lines in before you actually bring in the emotion or the relationship. It's actually quite hard, I find, don't you, as an improviser, even to do a couple of lines without bringing it in because you're so trained to.
Yes, it's true. Sorry, maybe I brought it in a little bit too early.
No, it's good.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You're like, I've got to find that connection. or you just sort of get away with yourself, and then sort of 2 minutes in and you're like, we've just been talking about stamps or the price of things. It's like, not interesting. Nice.
So it's something you can really play with. And I think it's a useful tool for jams and things like that as well, if you find yourself in a scene that's really transactional.
I think
really
so.
help.
Yeah, and I think often the suggestions are sort of those transactional situations. So it's great to be able to sort of get out of that.
Yeah.
And I suppose the talk about emotions makes us think a little bit more about connection. And even in the working world, a lot of people have said, look, it's so hard to get that human dynamic and connection over Zoom. It's not the same as being in the room with people. And no, it's not. And it's not the same as having an audience with you. But there are lots of exercises, I think, that we can use just to get some of that emotional connection and actually to slow down. I think sometimes in this format, there's a feeling that you've got to be saying something all the time. And obviously it's a bit sometimes hard to do that when the audio can be a bit delayed. So even just some of the really basic exercises Sarah and I have found nice to explore emotion and to start with emotion. So just things like cutting off your camera, covering your camera, and then just revealing an emotion face. And reacting to it, as Sarah did. And actually not feeling that you've got to start a scene too quickly and just letting it sit with you. And obviously it doesn't have to look comical. It looked quite comical there. It could be something. And just seeing how it sits with you, and maybe even testing sort of 20, 30 seconds of just responding to each other silently, I found has really helped us to be grounded and explore different emotions.
I think it's really important, particularly for me, because I'm really wordy. So like you said, that need or feeling like you should fill the space with words, I think for me is even more in the online world. So actually to have the luxury of going, no, don't say anything.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And absolutely. And you've got more tools, haven't you? You've got the tools of the silence and the facial expressions, but also actually you could still move around the space and demonstrate with your body how it's affected you. I know that we tend to only be able to see upper torsos, but there's nothing to stop you. Often in scenes, we've actually extended the view and stood up and those sorts of things. So people can then read body language much better.
Yeah, and it's just playing around with angles, isn't it? Like putting your laptop up on loads of books and things like that so that you can, like I said, I can't physically move that much at the moment, but generally I would like to stand up and just play around with the space a bit more. Yeah,
definitely. So
awesome.
So yeah, a bit of an emotional starting point.
Yes. So that leads us beautifully into our little final section talking about scene work. So our show is basically, what we tend to do is a mono scene with scene painting as a starting point. We will generally play a variety of characters. Often there might be 3 or 4 characters in, so multi-rolling, but also taking on each other's characters within a space. So what we found really important is to paint a world that we can inhabit and that's quite specific. And what I love about it actually is I've started to kind of actually visualize what's there. Sorry, my voice has gone funny due to the flour that I've ingested. So so I started to like visualize the setting. So I think that's what you can play with in the virtual world a little bit actually, because obviously you can use different backgrounds as well if you're great with stuff like that, and we'll talk a bit more about that in terms of something else that we've been doing, but just a bit of kind of scene painting, setting the world that you're both going to play in. And then I think with the two of you can start getting that feeling that you are in the same room a bit more, even though obviously we're not at the moment. So should we just, sorry Julie, was there anything you wanted to add other than that you missed me, obviously?
Yeah, it's emotional.
Anything else you wanted to add in terms of show format?
Really, in a way, we've enjoyed being a little bit more experimental with our format. So although we would normally do a mono scene with maybe, you know, different games and multi-rolling within it, actually we've been exploring with other sort of more montage type formats, or even mini kind of Larons with the two of us. So just being experimental, I think. And I never envisaged, however many weeks ago it was now, doing anything this creative online, genuinely.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think it's that thing of having you know, there's a choice, isn't there? But I think we've chosen to embrace it as much as we possibly can, because it's still creative and you're still getting that buzz, I think, ultimately. Okay, so let's just do a mini example of some of our scene painting. So generally we would get a one-word suggestion from the audience, we would exit, then we'd enter the space and paint kind of one at a time. So we have a one-word suggestion from our audience, my mum, and the suggestion is castle.
Ooh. There's a chill in the air, and this wall is large blocks of stone with water trickling down them.
The floor is it's very dark, and it feels quite mossy, kind of under your feet. You can feel the texture of it even with your shoes on, and just damp, like you're going to have to tread really carefully on this floor.
On the wall in front of us, there's an enormous, and I mean enormous, mahogany wardrobe. It's probably 12 feet wide, and it's all closed up apart from one door that's swinging on its hinges.
Ooh. And the only lighting in this room is from the arrow slits in the castle wall, which I'm pretty sure are called technically something else. But there's a lot of them, like almost too many of them, so they're just making stabbing points of light on the floor all over.
And then hanging from a single light bulb on the ceiling are 5 birthday balloons.
And in the corner of the room, like, you might not notice it because you're not going to want to tread on that horrible mossy floor too much. There's a half-eaten, really, really big birthday cake, but it's kind of all browning at the edges. It's kind of old, like maybe a week old, something like that. It's not really edible. And now I want to do a whole scene.
Now we would do a whole scene.
Yeah. So essentially then we would, a bit like in the virtual space and with what Julie was demonstrating, taking your time to start a scene virtually, we would then, and we've really played with this because object work is something that I'm always wanting to work on for myself, but like that idea of going into the space, playing with it, not necessarily feeling like you have to say something straight away. And I think that's quite exciting online. We've established something and then you automatically get that feeling as an improviser that you want to play within it.
Yeah, definitely. And particularly if you've got the camera angles differently, you can start to genuinely be using some of that space. Yeah. But also I think it helps the audience visualize really where you are, and kind of dispel, it's that disbelief, isn't it? It's sort of taking you out of the fact that you look like you're in separate screens.
Yeah, and I think it's great for connection because obviously there's agreement there and you're creating a world together that you then play in, which is just, you know, it's childlike and it's fun and playful.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got so many offers just there to be taken as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Ooh. So we are, I think we're pretty much at the end, aren't we? Which is sad for you, but good for me and my makeup wipes.
Yeah, indeed. We hope that you've enjoyed just a little bit of a waltz through some of the things that we've enjoyed playing with and learning definitely over the last few weeks, particularly around the opportunities offered by the online space, the creativity and playfulness, including with objects, and still the opportunities for emotional connection, which may not be obvious in the beginning.
Yeah, thank you. So it's something we're very excited about. So with Twinprov, we have been experimenting with a virtual director programme courtesy of Boyd Branch at the University of Kent's research project. So we've been doing some really exciting stuff with him, which we'll show you a clip from in a minute. And he's able to use green screen technology to put us in the same slide. So this has really enhanced our work, and it's so weird because I think we often do feel like we're in the same room. Julie is going to battle technology.
I'm just doing the technology, and as you can see, I'm just sort of having a little problem with it because it seems to Right, if you'll just bear with me 1
See,
second.
this is where it gets really exciting. Is it going to
This
work?
is where it gets very exciting, but very technical. So it doesn't seem to be wanting to show me where the video clip is, but just give me a second.
Okay, whilst you're
I'm sure we
doing
can
that, I'll
edit.
also,
Here we go.
yeah,
Here we
I'll
go.
talk about, oh, you got it?
I've got it. Here we go.
You sound like you're lying. Right. Right in the middle of broadcast, actually.
For sure. This is serious television, not this, like, kid stuff.
Okay, Mom. Fine, go on then. Like, do what you have to do. Oh my God.
Well, I just thought that maybe the kids would like something a little bit more serious and historical than dinosaurs.
But Mom, look at the dinosaurs. I got like a funny mustache and all sauce for the kids.
Is that enough of that?
Also, I think we need to give context. When we were in the rehearsal of this, we had Snapchat filter moustaches on. You can't see them. But if anything, it just adds to the abstractness of the scene, I'd like to think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, it's something we've really loved experimenting with, and there's a lot more that we're doing with that in that virtual space.
Yeah.
So,
and it's interesting because that one was a very kind of characterized, heightened one, but we've also been really playing with really naturalistic things. So again, really looking at, it's quite an abstract world, but having really connected relationships.
Yeah,
which
definitely.
has been delightful. Yeah, so we talked a bit about our technical adventures. In a minute, we'll put up a slide which just shows where you can find us. We're also both members of Improbotics, which is a multinational AI improv company, which also uses a lot of Boyd's technology for putting lots of players all in one slide and playing around with a whole load of really exciting stuff. And we're just about to do a virtual fringe with that, aren't we? The Paris Fringe.
We are
Really looking forward to that. So Julie, are you able to battle technology again and show that very
I think I have the technology. Shall we wave goodbye now?
We wave goodbye. Thank you so much for joining us.
We've loved it, and yeah, enjoy further improv adventures. Here's our final slide. It's coming up.
Dun, dun, dun.
Just a da, da, da. Yay. Oh, I long for the day we can wear those matching dresses again.
Oh my goodness, that would be the day.
It would be our emotional sign off. I love you.
Love you. Bye.